Out. Yes, chef. Three of you.
You, hey, I'm going to turn you upside down. Put that down.
Gordon Ramsay has spent 2 decades screaming across a kitchen pass, and somehow we never get tired of it. Hell's Kitchen has given us hundreds of hours of chaos, but only a handful of moments became legendary. The ones people quote in comment sections years later, the ones that turned a cooking competition into a cultural event, the lines that outlived the seasons they came from, escaped the show completely, and ended up in places nobody planned for. Some of these moments are furious. A couple of them are surprisingly kind. All of them are pure Ramsay. These are the 10 most iconic Gordon Ramsay moments in Hell's Kitchen. Number 10, it's raw. 2 words. That's all it ever took. No phrase in the history of the show has been repeated more than Ramsay lifting a piece of undercooked protein off a plate, holding it up so the whole kitchen can see it, and announcing with total disgust that it's raw. It has been said over chicken, over beef, over scallops, over lamb, and over fish that was still practically swimming. What makes it iconic isn't the volume, it's the disbelief underneath it. Ramsay genuinely cannot process how a professional cook, standing in his kitchen, on national television with a full section and a working oven, sent out food that simply isn't finished. And the delivery escalates every time. First it's a question, then it's a statement, then he's carrying the plate out to the person who cooked it, holding it under their nose, and asking them to look at it themselves. The line became a meme, a soundboard, a ringtone, a thing people shout at each other over a barbecue. It escaped Hell's Kitchen entirely and took on a life of its own. There's also a detail people miss. Ramsay almost never gets angrier about a burnt dish than an undercooked one. And there's a reason for that. Burnt food is a waste. Raw chicken is a hospital visit. When he holds that plate up, he isn't performing outrage about standards. He's stopping something genuinely dangerous from reaching a table. The reason it's stuck is simple. Every single season, somebody proves him right again. Number 9. Shutting down the service. Most cooking shows are built to reach the end of the episode. Hell's Kitchen is the only one that regularly refuses to. When a dinner service collapses badly enough, Ramsay does the one thing no other format allows. He stops it, he walks to the pass, calls both brigades to attention, and tells a restaurant full of paying customers who booked weeks in advance and dressed up to be there that dinner is finished. The dining room goes quiet. Diners look at each other. The chefs stand behind the pass in their whites with nothing to say because there's nothing to say. And then Ramsay throws every single one of them out of his kitchen. The most dramatic punishment the show has, because there's no comeback attached to it. There's no redemption run, no second wave of tickets, no chance to claw the night back. The service is simply over, and the record of it is permanent. For the chefs, it's humiliating in a way elimination never is, because it's collective. Nobody gets to be the one who did well. And there's a detail that makes it sting even more. The diners are real. They aren't extras. They aren't paid to sit there. And a lot of them traveled a long way for the night. When Ramsay apologizes to the dining room and sends them away, he's apologizing on behalf of people standing 10 feet behind him, who can hear every word of it. For the audience, it's the moment the stakes stop being theoretical. This isn't a set, it's a restaurant. And it just failed. Number 8. Where's the lamb sauce? Some outbursts are famous for what was said. This one is famous for how it was said. A missing component, a stalled meat station, and Ramsay's voice climbing through an entire octave as he demands to know where the lamb sauce is. It isn't a question, it's an accusation, repeated, getting louder each time, while the chef standing in front of him has no answer at all. What sells it is the repetition. He asks once, he asks again, he asks a third time with his hands out, genuinely bewildered, as though the sauce might materialize if he says it often enough. The clip escaped Hell's Kitchen almost immediately. It became a reaction gif, a shouted joke between friends, a caption on 1,000 unrelated videos, and a line that people who have never watched a single episode of this show can still quote perfectly. That's the strange power of this format. A sauce nobody remembers the recipe for, from a service most fans couldn't date, became one of the most repeated phrases on the internet. What's genuinely funny about it is how ordinary the situation was. Sauces go missing in professional kitchens constantly. It happens on quiet Tuesdays in restaurants nobody films. The only difference here was that the person asking about it had a microphone on, a camera crew, and absolutely no interest in waiting. And to this day, if a Hell's Kitchen chef mentions lamb, the comment section writes itself. Number 7. Ramsay takes over the station. Every so often, the shouting stops working. When a station has failed so completely that no amount of yelling will fix it, Ramsay does something that genuinely shocks the contestants. He stops shouting, he steps around the pass, puts on an apron, and starts cooking the food himself. It's quieter than the meltdowns, and somehow far more brutal. Nothing tells a room full of professional chefs that they have failed like watching the man judging them do their job faster and better, while still calling tickets and running the pass at the same time. The kitchen usually goes silent. The chefs step back and watch, because there's nothing else for them to do. Some of them look genuinely embarrassed. A few of them look like they're learning something. And it's a reminder the show often buries under the insults. Before he was a television villain, before the memes and the soundboards, Ramsay was one of the most decorated chefs in the world, with a wall of stars to prove it. Stanley doesn't mention that very often. He just occasionally demonstrates it in about 90 seconds, and then hands the station back. Stanley, number 6, the donkey era. Sport long before the show softened its edges, Hell's Kitchen ran on one word. Donkey. Delivered flat, delivered screaming, delivered directly into a chef's face from 6 inches away. It became Ramsay's default setting for anyone who repeated a mistake he had already explained twice. The early seasons are packed with it, alongside a rotating vocabulary of insults the network could barely broadcast. Contestants were compared to animals, to furniture, to natural disasters. Ramsay's ability to invent a fresh one in the middle of a collapsing service became a genuine attraction in itself, and viewers started watching for the language as much as the cooking. It also set the tone for everything that followed. Chefs arrived on later seasons already knowing what they were walking into, which changed how they behaved, and arguably made the show louder rather than calmer. The era that defined the show's reputation, for better and for worse. Ramsay himself has spent years explaining the difference between a professional kitchen and a television one. The insults were never really the interesting part anyway. What made that era work was that the criticism underneath them was almost always correct. Strip out the language and you're left with a chef telling somebody their sauce is split, their protein is late, and their station is a mess, which it usually was. But it's the reason an entire generation still hears that one word in a Scottish accent. Diddley number 5, the rare compliment. Peak here is the moment nobody expects to find on a Gordon Ramsay highlight reel. Occasionally, a chef gets it exactly right. A dish arrives at the pass the way it should, at the right temperature, seasoned properly, plated cleanly on time, and Ramsay stops. He tastes it, he pauses, sometimes he tastes it again, and then he says, "It's good." The reaction in the kitchen is always identical. Total disbelief first, then something close to euphoria. Chefs who have been screamed at for weeks visibly change posture. A few of them have cried. Their teammates start shouting encouragement down the line, and for about 30 seconds the whole room forgets it's a competition. These moments are rare on purpose, and that is exactly why they land. If the praise came easily, it would be worthless, and everybody in that kitchen knows it. It's also the clearest evidence that the shouting isn't the point. The standard is the point. The shouting is just what happens when the standard isn't met. For a lot of viewers, this is the version of Ramsay they actually came for. Simply cleared her press. The food goes flying. There is a specific sound Hell's Kitchen fans recognized instantly. A plate hitting the inside of a bin. When a dish is wrong, Ramsay doesn't quietly set it aside. He scrapes it, dumps it, throws it, or in the most famous cases, hurls the entire thing across the kitchen, while the chef who cooked it stands there and watches it go. Risotto has ended up on the floor. Pans have been thrown into sinks hard enough to be heard in the dining room. Entire trays of protein have been binned in a single sweep, seconds after being carried proudly to the pass. It is theater, and everybody involved understands that. But it also does something genuinely practical. It makes it impossible for the chef to negotiate. There's no arguing that the fish was borderline once the fish is in the bin. The chefs who survive Hell's Kitchen tend to be the ones who learn to watch it happen without falling apart, refire the dish, and keep moving. Because nothing communicates rejection quite like watching your own food leave the room without you. Number 3. Kicked out mid-service. Elimination in Hell's Kitchen is supposed to happen at the end of the night, at the front of the kitchen, with a ceremony, 2 jackets on the counter, and a speech. Sometimes Ramsay doesn't wait. When a contestant becomes a genuine danger to the service, arguing on the line, sending out raw food repeatedly, or simply falling apart in the middle of a rush, Ramsay removes them on the spot. Take your jacket off, get out, in the middle of dinner, in front of the whole brigade in a full dining room. It is the harshest thing the show does, because it takes away the one piece of dignity the format normally guarantees, the chance to stand up at the end and make your case. The chefs left behind almost never recover their rhythm afterwards. A station goes down a body, the tickets keep coming, and the night usually gets worse rather than better. What's striking is how rarely it's about a single bad dish. A mid-service removal is almost always the end of a long argument that started hours earlier, and everybody in the kitchen can feel it building. By the time Ramsay says the words, half the brigade has already stopped being surprised. And the message to everyone still standing at that pass is unmistakable. This is a restaurant first, and the competition comes second. It's number 2. When it stopped being about cooking, Hell's Kitchen has always run on chefs shouting at each other. Every so often it goes further than that. Dorm argument escalates. Somebody steps forward. Somebody else refuses to move. The voices drop for a second, then rise again, and suddenly there are people between them who are not chefs. Ramsay's response in those moments is the most consistent thing about it. The performance stops instantly. The shouting television host disappears, and a head chef takes over, separating people, ending it, and making it very clear that whatever this competition is worth, it is not worth this. There's no punchline afterwards, no insult, no clever line for the edit. Usually there's a very short conversation, and somebody goes home quietly. It's the clearest look the show ever gives us at where the line actually sits and how fast he'll draw it. And it lands harder than any insult he's ever delivered. Number 1, 2 brigades, 1 kitchen, total collapse. The single most iconic Ramsay moment isn't a line at all, it's a scene the show returns to every single season. Both teams failing at once, tickets stacking up on the rail, refires piling on the pass, chefs blaming each other across the kitchen, while the dining room slowly empties and the servers run out of excuses. Ramsay standing in the middle of it, watching a restaurant he is personally responsible for come apart in real time. And then the eruption, the pass being pounded, every chef called forward. The service ended on the spot. It's the show's entire identity compressed into about 4 minutes. The pressure, the incompetence, the fury, the exhaustion, and underneath all of it, a chef who genuinely cannot stand watching food done badly by people who should know better. Everything else on this list is a highlight. This is the actual format. 20 years later, that's still why we watch. If you enjoyed the video, drop a comment telling us which Gordon Ramsay moment you think is the most iconic of all time. And don't forget to subscribe for more kitchen disasters, legendary meltdowns, and Gordon Ramsay chaos.